right, this is the continuation of the first half of the test review. So this is part 2. We're going to pick up with numbers 21 all the way to 34. Right, this is where you will have to perform the other methods for systems of equations, and then we will have to do all the graphing related to inequalities. Right, so for 21 and 22, the questions are asking you to use the substitution method. Right, so this is where you have to remember what each method is about and how to get it started. And if it tells you specifically on the test which method to use, you must use that method or it's an invalid answer. Right, for number 21, it's already ready to go with the y being by itself, so I'm going to circle the x plus 3. That tells me that in the place of y in the other equation, I'm going to insert x plus 3. So now I have 2x plus x plus 3 equals 3. Combine your like terms, so now you have 3x plus 3 equals 3. Subtract your 3. You now have 3x equals 0. Divide by 3, and you have x equals 0. Right, so you have half of your answer at this point. Now to get the y value, you're going to go all the way back up into your circled expression and substitute 0 for x. So I've got y equals 0 plus 3, which means my y value is 3. Put them together in alphabetical order, and your ordered pair for number 21 is going to be 0, 3. For number 22, the letter is not already ready to go, but if you look at your two equations, the y on the bottom one is the quickest one and easiest one to do. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. That gives me y equals 4x minus 6, and I'm going to circle the 4x minus 6, and that is what I'm going to substitute in for the y at the top. Right? So when I go to substitute in, I've got 5x minus 3 parentheses 4x minus 6 equals 4. Right, you have to distribute next, so this will be 5x minus 12x plus 18 equals 4. Combine your like terms. 5x minus 12x is negative 7x plus 18 equals 4. Subtract your 18 from both sides. You now have negative 7x equals negative 14. Divide by negative 7, and x equals positive 2. Right, so now that you have your 2, you're going to go back into your revised equation, and you're going to stick the 2 in for the x. So this becomes 4 times 2 minus 6, and that's 8 minus 6, so that gives you a y value of 2. So in this system, your ordered pair is 2, 2. Right. For numbers 23 and 24, you're using the elimination method, which is many of your favorite methods. Right. For number 23, it's ready to go. So you can go ahead and eliminate your y's and continue combining as usual. 11x plus 2x is going to be 13x. 14 minus 1 is 13, so you're going to divide by 13. 13 divided by 13 gives you x equals 1. Right, so now remember, in elimination, you can go back to either equation that you want to plug it in. I'm going to plug it into the bottom one. So I have 2 times 1 plus y equals negative 1. That's 2 plus y equals negative 1. Subtract your 2, and now you get y equals negative 3. So putting that together in ordered pair, that would be 1, negative 3. Right, for number 24, you'll notice that none of them are ready to eliminate, which means you have to make them ready to eliminate. I'm going to go after the y's just because I already see that they're opposite signs. You can certainly go after the x's and the answer will come out the same. All right, so because I'm going after the y's, I want my magic number to be 15. So I'm going to multiply the top one by 3 and the bottom one by 5. All right, so that gives me 9x plus 15y equals 33 for the top. And then for the bottom, that'll give me 20x minus 15y equals 25. Okay, eliminate your y's and combine. 9x plus 20x is 29x. 33 plus 25 is 58. Divide by 29, and you get x equals 2. Right, remember to go back to one of the original equations to find your y. Right, so I'm going to stick this into the top one. So 3 times 2 plus 5y equals 11. So this is 6 plus 5y equals 11. Subtract your 6. So now you've got 5y equals 5. Divide by 5, and you get y equals 1. So put the two together, and your answer for number 24 is going to be the ordered pair of 2, 1. Okay. All right. For numbers 25 and 26, it's asking you how many solutions, either one, none, or infinite solutions. Remember, you can do this through elimination, or you can do this through ratios. Your choice. If you're using ratios, just remember you have to memorize which ones mean which type. Right. So for number 25, I'm going to use this one as ratios, and then on 26 I'll do elimination just so you can see how it works. All right, so for 25 the ratios -2/4 makes -1/2, -3/6 makes -1/2, 9/-18 makes -1/2. So because all three ratios came out to be -1/2, this means that this has infinite solutions. Infinite is the only one where all the ratios are exactly the same. For number 26, if I'm going to use elimination, I'm going to multiply the top by 2 so that I can get a -4 to come out for the y's. So that'll be positive 18x minus 4y equals 22. And I eliminate the y's. Now I've got 23x equals 35. I don't even have to continue the problem from here. As soon as you see that you still have one letter left or any of the letters left, you know you will have one solution. It did not ask me to find it. It only asked me to state how many I will have. Right? So that's how you would use elimination to help you out there. For 27, tell whether the ordered pair is a solution. Right, so we're going to plug this in. So -3 times -2 plus 2 times 8 is greater or equal to 16. Do your multiplication first. This would be positive 6 plus 16 greater or equal to 16. 16 plus 6 is going to be 22. Is 22 greater or equal to 16? Yes, it is. This is a true statement. So we say yes, that ordered pair is going to be a solution. For 28 and 29, you're graphing inequalities on the coordinate plane. Remember, with the graphing, you have to remember to ask yourself, is it solid or dash when you go to connect the dots? And then you have to shade one side or the other. Right, so for number 28, it's ready to go with your M and your B. So we're going to go ahead and start plotting. You're going to start at +3. Your slope is 2/1. That's rise 2, run 1. So up to right 1. Up to right 1, or you can go down 2 and left 1 to get your other dots, right? And then you have to ask yourself, is this solid or dashed? Because it's the greater than sign and there's no piece of the equal bar, you need to have a dashed line going through these points, okay, to separate your graph, right? Now remember the hand trick that I taught you. Because this is an uphill line, you're going to use your left hand, and it's greater than, so we want to shade on the top side of your hand. So you should be shading the top side of the line. For number 29, it starts with a y and has no x, so that means it's only going to cross the y-axis at +3. Right? And the only kind of lines that cross the y and don't ever touch the x are horizontal ones. It's less than or equal to, so you're going to make a solid line straight across. And because it's less than or equal to, that would mean everything underneath the line gets shaded. So there's your picture for those two. Right? For numbers 30 and 31, you are writing a system of inequalities from the picture. Right, that is given. So you will have to have 2 inequalities to make every system occur for this one. Right, I'm going to start with the first one being the dashed line, right, which would be the one down there across the bottom. And notice that the shading is underneath that dashed line. Right, so we have crossing the y-axis at -3, so the b is -3. And because it only crosses the y-axis, that means it's only going to have a y with no x. So you're going to have y and then -3. Because it's a dashed line, that means your two choices are greater or less than, and it's shaded underneath it, so that would mean put the less than sign in there. Right? For the other line, the slanted one that's solid, that's this one, I need to find my m and my b. Because it's slanted, it's got a y and an x. There's my b at +1. Now to find my m, I need to do rise over run until I get to another dot. And there should be one actually right here where my arrow is. Right, so that's rise 4, run 1. So that means a slope of 4. Okay, now if you look at it, it is a solid line, so your choices are greater or equal to or less than or equal to, and it's shaded on the top side. So let me show you what that looks like using a different color. It's shaded on the top side because that's where the overlapping area is in the picture. Right, so that means I'm going to use the greater than or equal to sign. Right, so that would be y is greater or equal to 4x plus 1. And you can double check with once you have your inequalities written and look at the graph and see, did it really map out the way you wanted it to. All right, for number 31, they're both slanted, so both lines are going to need a y and an x, and the region that we're looking at is this small colored in region right here. All right, so I'm going to take this first line that I'm pointing at, and we have to find the m and the b first. The y-intercept for this line is down here at -2. And as far as the slope goes, the next dot is going to be right here at the point of intersection. So that's rise 5 and run 2. That means my slope is 5/2. Right, so I'm going to have y, I'm going to skip a spot for my sign, and then I'm going to have 5/2 x minus 2. Right, now to figure out my sign, it's solid, so I know I'm going to need a piece of the equal bar. But the question is it going to be less than and equal to or greater than or equal to? And if you look at this line, the shading occurs underneath it. So that would make it less than or equal to. All right, for the next line, we want to do the same thing, find the m and the b. So that's the one I'll do in red. All right, the b for this one is going to be right here at positive 2. Again, we have to do rise over run to get to the next dot, which is again that point of intersection. So it's up 1, right 2 for 1/2. All right, so when I go to write my next one, it'll be y. Again, I'm going to skip some space, and then I'm going to put 1/2 x plus 2. Okay, it is a solid line, so it needs an equal bar. And if you look at the shading of this one, it is shaded on top of this line to get to the shaded region. So that would be greater than or equal to. So there's the two inequalities that made that picture happen. For the rest of the test review, the last 3, you're going to have to graph the system of inequalities yourself and show me where the shaded region is. Right? So for the first one, remember you always have to make sure it's in intercept form. So for this first one, I have to add x over, or I can't even begin to graph it. Y is less than x plus 1. Now I'm ready to graph each one of these. And remember, like we did in class, you want to use different colors so that you can see where the coloring overlaps easiest. If you're using the same kind of pencil for everything, it's very hard to see the overlapping area. For y is less than or equal to -2, on the y-axis at -2, put your dot. It is crossing the y-axis only, and it's going to be solid. So there's my line. For less than or equal to, that would be shaded underneath the line. For the second one, you're going to start it at +1 on your y-axis, and then your slope is +1. So it's up 1, right 1, or you can take and go down 1, left 1 if you want to get more lines. It is not solid, so this is where I need to see by you showing me the dash line effect through your dots. Okay, so there's that line, and then because it's less than, it's going to be underneath that line. So just leaving your graph like this is not showing me the answer. You have to take either your regular pencil or another color and darken in the region of the picture where the two colors are overlapping. So that would be this whole region down here. That tells me the answer to your graph. Without that darkened area, you haven't officially answered the question and shown me what you need to. All right, for number 33, we want to take and add x to both sides on both equations. That'll give us our intercept form right away. Okay, so now I've got y is less than x plus 4, and y is greater or equal to x plus 2. All right, graphing the first one, I'm going to start at +4 and go up 1, right 1, or down 1, left 1. And then this one is solid, or sorry, this one's dashed. No piece of the equal bar. So make sure your dash line is there. Okay, and because it's less than, you're going to shade underneath. Okay, for the next line, you're going to start that one at +2. And again, you're going to go up 1, right 1, or down 1, left 1. You're going to notice these lines are parallel to each other, which you should have already caught on to the fact that because they had the same slope, that was going to happen. Right, this one is a solid line going through those dots. And when you go to shade this one's going to be above the line. Right, so in this case, with these two parallel lines, the answer region is the little space in between both of those lines, because that's the only spot where those two colors are going to overlap. So only those dots in that region is going to be the answer for it. Everything else is not an answer. All right, when you go to number 34, you'll need 3 colors to do this one because there are 3 inequalities that you must graph on the same grid. All right, so when we go to do the bottom one, we need to fix that one. So let's go ahead and fix that first. Subtract your 3x from both sides. Now you've got -y is greater than -3x. Divide by -1 and flip your sign. So now you've got y is less than 3x. And now we're ready to graph all 3 of them. All right, so for the first one, y is less than 4. Go to +4. It's going to go only through the y-axis, so that's horizontal, and it's going to be dashed because there's no piece of the equal sign. And less than would be all the space down below. Go to the next one, which is x is greater than -1. Because it starts with an x, it's going to go through the x-axis at -1 and never touch the y-axis, which means it's vertical. And that, again, is also dashed. And greater than would be to the right-hand side of it. So you can now see the region that our answer is going to be in just by seeing where the 2 colors overlap. But to get the final space, we're going to have to get that 3rd line in there. All right, y is less than 3x. The y-intercept is the origin. It goes through 0, 0, and then it's rise 3, run 1. Rise 3, run 1. So this is a slanted line. Okay, and because it is less than, you're going to have to dash it. So I should see the dash marks through your line. And because it's less than, you're going to shade on the underneath side. Now here's where you're going to have to take and look at yours, probably better than mine, and find the region of this graph that all three colors have overlapped. All right, and it should have three boundaries, one for each line. And if you look carefully, here's the top boundary until you get to the slanted line, and then you're going to slant. That's the second boundary, and then you're going to go straight down the vertical line as another boundary. So there's your three boundaries. However many inequalities you have in your system, that's how many boundaries you should have in your answer. Okay, so if it's 2 inequalities, there should be 2 boundaries. If it's 4, there should be 4. If it's 3, there should be 3. So there's your answer to that one. All right, so hopefully you guys will use this to study and prepare for the test, and that you will be in good shape for the test.